So much better.
Yeah.
Hi there. Is Andrew here? Andrew?
Andrew, yes. Andrew.
There he is. What's up, big guy?
And very cool. You guys have the whole setup here.
Yes, yes.
All right,
I got
cool.
to meet
Yeah.
Corey.
We were
When he
talking a
wasn't
second
here, he
ago.
was just, who knows what he was
So
doing.
Tom's gonna do. We have a ton of video. Tom can do a bunch of content for us. So I was thinking maybe we'll do a quick interview with Corey and he can talk about
Yep.
investing in a private jet because I know
love
that's
that.
one of your things.
Yep, yep.
And then if you want, we can give a tour of the PC-12 and Excel,
Sure.
and then maybe talk about what we do as a company.
Yeah, so with the tours of the PC-12 and the Excel. Hey guys, welcome. It's Tom with JetLifeAero. I'm your ultimate jet guide, and today we have Andrew and Cory from SkyShare. We're sitting in this beautiful Citation Excel. Thank you so much for having us out here, guys. Appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Yeah, thanks.
We're over here at MBAA. We're going to answer some questions that a lot of buyers have when it comes to should I buy, should I charter, should I invest, should I buy a fraction of a private jet. We're going to have all those questions answered today by these guys. So thanks a lot.
Okay. Thanks for having
Awesome.
us.
Thanks, Tom.
So Andrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about maybe the company, SkyShare, what you guys kind of do, and then we'll go into some more detail about the nitty gritty.
Totally. So SkyShare is kind of like an all-encompassing aviation company. We have FBOs. We started as an aircraft brokerage in 2008, but really our main driver of growth is the fractional program, which is SkyShare, which we've now kind of enveloped the entire company. And we also do some 135 charter as well. And I'll let the founder kind of talk about his vision and whole concept for the company.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, please, Corey.
Yeah, so I look at it as that we're guides to the very successful entrepreneurs that are trying to explore the different ways to fly. Because like you said, there's lots of ways to do it, and not one way is the best way. It depends on the situation. So we sit down with people that are looking to get into flying, or they're currently already have an aircraft, whatever the scenario, and we analyze how much they're going to fly and then what their mission is, and then we help them determine, should we go buy them an airplane, or is chartering the best deal? And typically what I recommend is, how much are you going to fly?
Right.
If you're going to fly less than 10 times a year privately, then just charter. And you can charter that. You can pick which aircraft is best for the mission. There's no large upfront capital outlay, no reoccurring monthly management fees or pilot costs or anything like that. But if you start flying more than 10 days a year,
Okay.
that's where I believe the economics of a fractional program kick in, or you buy your own airplane depending on what you want to do. With the fractional program, one of the benefits is you can pick which airplane is best for the mission. You're
an individual mission?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is how our program, some fractional programs can't do that,
Right.
but with ours, when you're an owner in the program, you can fly the Pilatus one day, you could fly the Citation the next day,
okay.
you could fly the Excel the day after, and then the Gulfstream the next day. And so it gives you
That's
really
awesome.
a ton of
Yeah,
flexibility.
usually you buy a fraction of a PC-12,
Right.
and you're stuck with that.
Right.
So when you want to go coast to coast, you're like, okay.
Exactly. And that's where owners really say they love the program the most, is the flexibility in aircraft options. And then there's some people it just makes more sense to own your own airplane. If they need something that's on call, they need to be able to go when they want their own pilots, and they don't want to share the airplane, or there's a bigger tax need, then picking the right airplane is really important. You want to talk about how to pick the right airplane?
Totally. So really one of the cool things about SkyShare is we want to be that solution for a guy that starts chartering, moves into fractional, and then maybe flies so much, and private aviation's grown their business so much that now they need their own airplane, but we can put it back in our fleet, charter it out, and offset a good portion of their fixed costs. So typically, when it comes to what airplane should I buy, it really depends on the mission. If you're, let's say a construction company in Utah and you have projects in Idaho, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado, maybe within a 700 nautical mile radius, turboprop like the PC-12 over there is going to be a great option for you. It's going to be efficient to operate, relatively low buy-in to buy the whole asset, and will be very efficient to operate. Maybe you have a little bit of a broader mission. You go to the Midwest or other parts of the country. Light jets. We operate CJ2s. That's a great, very efficient aircraft, can be flown single pilot, and works well for that. And maybe you just want ramp presence and size in a maybe you fly to Europe 3 times a year. We also run larger aircraft like the G200. We're going to be introducing G450s next year that give you those options as well. So it really just depends on a specific mission and what works for you, and have a expert like ourselves or another broker walk you through and evaluate what airplane does 80% of your flights, and that's the one you should buy.
Yeah. Do you guys have any tips or any unique questions? Because a lot of people say figure out how far you're going. So my 4 questions: how far are you going? How many people taking with you? How big of a cabin do you need? How many spots do you how many stops do you want to make? Like, how fast does the jet have to go? You guys have any other questions that you like to kind of have a buyer answer to help find the right jet for them?
I think all those are great questions, and Andrew said this a second ago, but I think the most important thing is to find an airplane that does 80% of your missions. You're never going to find one airplane that does it all.
I appreciate you saying that.
So find out, let's narrow down, what is 80% of your missions, and then all those questions. How far, how many people, what size cabin do you want? And then if you can find that one aircraft that does 80%, make sure you hire someone that knows what they're doing to help you buy the asset. Just like you do a great job, like this isn't buying a car. There's lots of nuances to buying an aircraft. And if you don't know, even as something as simple, if you take delivery in the wrong state, it can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And there's a lot of people that just don't understand that it's worth it to have someone that's fighting for you in your corner that understands business.
I appreciate that. Speaking of, what does SkyShare do in terms of helping with the peripheral needs of a buyer? Lending, insurance, pilots, hangar, the list goes on and on and on. How does SkyShare
So
help that?
we can help in all of those facets, and that's the deal. Is we sit down and we really want to figure out what is the ultimate mission for our client. How can we help the best? And if they want us to be part of the fractional program, right? Then that's easy. You just call them, pick an airplane, and everything is done behind the scenes. If they want to buy their own airplane, then they'd sit down with Andrew and go through that analysis, figure out which one, and then we can help them manage the aircraft. So we can do all of the stuff from the pilot recruiting to overseeing the maintenance, negotiating fuel contracts, and then once they own the asset, they have the option to just keep it private, or if they want to offset some of those costs, we can also charter the aircraft when they're not doing it.
Do you have any stories of anyone that came to you guys and were like, this is what's going on, I don't know what to do, can you please help me?
It happens often, right? and because people's needs change all the time, right?
Sure.
So a good example is we had a very large company that bought into our fractional program a year ago, and their business is expanding. They're flying a lot more.
And just out of curiosity, for that company, was that the owner needed to fly around, or he wanted to fly his team around?
So their executive team going to the different spots. They're doing a lot of acquisitions of different businesses right now. And so we got their feet wet within the fractional program, and then they said, hey, Cory, Andrew, we're ready for our own airplane. What do we do next? And so we brought them out here to MBAA. We toured a couple different airplanes, and we're going to be making offers. And so we're working with them as the transition. Some people, it's very often that they'll start in charter, go to fractional ownership, then they buy their own aircraft, and some people will go up and down in that. Some people will not need that airplane anymore, and they don't want the hassle of ownership, and they just say, let's just go back to the fractional.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What's some of the most creative uses of private aviation you guys have seen? People call it a time machine. People say I need the flexibility to go places. What are one or maybe a few creative uses that you've seen that might stand out and jog someone's mind, like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I see often that it's like the journey of a successful entrepreneur. At some point in time, they have to make a decision. Am I going to disappoint my family or miss my daughter's recital or go to that business meeting? And it gets to a point where finally the business is successful enough that, hey, you know what, I can do both. Like an airplane allows you to be a superhero. You can be in 2 places at once. You can.
You need to start using that one.
But it's really true. I mean, you can be in that meeting in Denver, and you can be home at 6 o'clock in Utah or wherever that is, and get that.
Have plenty of clients for sure.
And then the other thing I think that's interesting is that solves one problem, but then they can say, how can I make this airplane make me money? Now, we're not an operator saying you're going to buy an airplane and you're going to go give it to somebody and you're going to make money. That's not the case. These are very expensive deals.
Yeah, let's be clear, the last 2 years were an anomaly.
Yeah. But when you think about what you can do with this business tool, so what do I mean by that? You can have 6 of your executive team. You could go to 3 different states in the same day. They can be back, which would take them a week to do on the airlines. So the efficiencies of their time, getting home, quality of life, like they can help scale the business. There's another one of our clients that we manage a big Gulfstream, and he creates experiences. He's a small family office, and so he'll bring potential clients on, and he'll go do a very cool experience within 24 hours. You know, they'll go hunting an exotic ranch, or they'll go to a spearfishing down in Cabo or something like that. But he's told me that the jet has paid for itself numerous times just with the connections that are built within there. So I think those are really the three main reasons people fly for private, is to save time and to scale their business, and then just to create epic experiences with their loved ones.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, that's awesome.
I think one thing that is really cool about our company is that, you know, not only do we buy and sell jets, and we're very experienced brokers, but we're also one of the few brokerages out there that actually operates these airplanes.
True.
And you know, that puts us in very elite company with only a few other companies like QS Partners or Wheels Up Aircraft Sales that actually sell airplanes and operate them and have that operational experience to, you know, give their client an edge when it comes to, you know, very important decisions through the ownership cycle.
Have you had any experiences where an operator or a broker didn't like have that experience that you're talking about, and it ended up costing a client or anything like that?
I don't know, like directly, but you know, it really shows, like when Cory and I go talk to a client that's looking to buy a Pilatus, and we can show up in our own Pilatus, fly them to the aircraft in our Pilatus, and then talk about all the various nuances of the aircraft. These are the certain type of seats that you get in this series of Pilatus, or these are the avionics upgrades. We know all of that because we live it every single day, managing and owning these aircraft.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, speaking of the PC-12, so we're sitting in a Citation XLS. Is it Plus? Or?
This is actually an Excel.
Oh, this is the Excel.
Yeah,
okay.
but I appreciate you calling it an XLS because it's so nice.
So we're sitting in the Citation Excel, which is a mid-sized jet. So a lot of people looking to buy their first private jet, the question comes up, like, do I go light? Do I go mid-size? Do I go heavy? When we start looking at a price point, $2 to $6 million, there's a lot of leeway. I mean, we can go even PC-12 if we wanted to, if you want owner-operator, single engine, that sort of thing. So what are your thoughts, Cory, in terms of what is the mid-sized jet? Who is the mid-sized jet for? What's the mission for? How does it compare to, you know, that $2 to $6 million range? How do you make sense of that as a first-time buyer?
So it's a great question, because a lot of people will get on controller that if this is their first airplane, right? Yeah. And they're like, hey, I can buy this, call it whatever, a Hawker 700, you know, and say, look how big it is, and it's only $700,000, and they don't understand that a lot of times buying the airplane is just the cheapest part of the whole ownership experience. And so going back to really narrowing down what is the mission, 80% of your flights, sketch it out, and how many people and whatnot. So this airplane that we're talking about sitting in this Excel is a great one for that 1,000 nautical mile range that you want a little bit bigger cabin than the light jet, and you're going to put 6 to 8 people in it. The light jets, they some of them have limitations on how much weight they can hold.
Sure.
You know, so like in our CJ2, for example, you're not going to put 6 200-pound guys in there plus 2 pilots. It's too much weight for that aircraft. And so if you're, you know, husband and wife with 2 little kids and you're going Salt Lake to California, it's a great airplane.
Now, just to get into the weeds with the CJ2, you could put 6 people in there, right, and it'd be fine. Just a matter of we're talking about range and luggage as well, or is it really going to even be impacted that you can't even fill it?
If it's 6 200-pound guys, it's too heavy.
Yeah.
So
you're not going anywhere.
A wise man once said, you know, you can pick only 2 out of like the 3: ass, gas, or go fast. So pick 2 out of the 3, and that's what you're gonna, you know, be working with for most jets.
I like that. No, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so we're back in the unair conditioned display. So let's talk about the PC-12. A little bit smaller. Who's this airplane for?
The PC-12 is an incredibly versatile aircraft. We call it the Ranger over the sky. So it does everything awesome. It just doesn't have jet speeds. So for the people that have a mission of really 500-600 nautical miles or less, where 80% of those missions are in that nautical mile range, it's a very comfortable 8-passenger in the back. You can fly it single pilot, so you can actually put 9 people in it. There's a lot of owner pilots that fly these airplanes. And it's just one of those airplanes that you can load the seats up and you can actually go somewhere.
Just out of curiosity, on your program and any of your programs, can someone fly their own aircraft?
We do have some owners that fly their own aircraft that we manage, and then when they're not
Gotcha.
flying that airplane, we'll charter it out.
Oh,
and offset
perfect.
some of that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Within our fractional program, it's flown all by our pro pilots.
Sure, I can't own a
Yeah.
fraction and then hop in the
You
cockpit.
can sit up front though.
Yeah.
So that's
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can sit up front and watch the pilot and listen to the pilot talk to ATC and everything like that.
Nice. So aviation is an interesting world because there's a lot of different opportunities. There's a lot of different ways for people to get involved in aviation. We've talked about fractional, we've talked about owning, we've talked about chartering. Are there any other, maybe like we might call it an investment opportunity when it comes to whether that's buying and leasing it back to a charter company
Yep.
or investment in the normal sense of it? What have you seen
Yeah.
in the world of aviation for that?
So again, I don't believe you can go buy an airplane and go make money with it to cover the debt service and everything like that. But if you have use for an airplane, if it makes sense for your business or your family, there is some tax benefits. Like right now, you can bonus depreciate. You can basically write off 80% of the full purchase price within this calendar year.
Yep.
So instead of writing a big chunk to Uncle Sam, big check to Uncle Sam, you can get an airplane, right?
Yeah.
Keep some cash in the bank. Other stuff, we do have some interesting financing we do have some interesting investment opportunities within our company.
Okay.
As we're growing. We've partnered up with a few people where they bought an airplane and we pay them a return on their investment and whatnot. So there is some interesting opportunities we could talk about.
Yeah, nice. In terms of owning an aircraft, in terms of if I'm going to write a check to buy an aircraft, what can I do? I can give it back to a company, or I could fly it myself. Like, what are some of the things you see people do?
So any airplane bigger than like a little Cessna. So when we get into a turboprop or a light jet, I would strongly recommend hiring a management company to manage the asset.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's again, this isn't like a sports car. There's so many moving parts with an aircraft,
Literally
from the
interior,
maintenance, from negotiating hangar and fuel contracts to just staying compliant with the FAA. So I think it's very important that you hire a good operator, whether you're going to charter out or not. Hire a management company that's going to take care of your asset. And then if you bought an airplane, you do have that option to charter it out.
Okay.
You know, and if you pick a good operator that does a good job, you should be able to charter it out enough to cover most of your fixed expenses, pilots, insurance, maintenance, and stuff like that. So you can offset a lot of it.
And the Pilatus is a great platform for that. You know, this
Absolutely.
aircraft is maybe $700 an hour to operate.
Wow, okay.
And we're getting over $2,000 an hour on charter rates for these things. So there's a good spread between your fixed costs and then what this will charter for, that an owner will see in terms of offsetting pilot costs, hangar, insurance, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell people, maintenance and your bills are cyclical. So you might have a good year where you get some income, but wait, because the next year or the next 2 years, that's all going to go out. So you don't put money in and then just take it out right away. It's along for the ride. You did it for a tax play, and now you have an asset that you can use to do all the things that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And something like the Pilatus is a very stable aircraft. It's great for a first-time owner. Annuals aren't expensive in the grand scheme of things compared to other aircraft. It's cheap to operate, and outside of maybe an engine overhaul every 3,500 hours, you're not going to be looking at six-figure maintenance bills every year. You know, I'd say maybe you're spending $100,000 all in on maintenance on average, which is really good for an aircraft of this size and scale.
That's huge. Timely, what are you guys seeing in the charter market lately in terms of demand? Also, maybe in terms of sales, if somebody does want to go buy a jet, what's the market looking like right now? Q4 2023.
We've noticed a small drop, but we're still extremely busy. There's still a lot of people that since COVID, they started to fly in private for the first time, and they got that taste, and it's a drug. Like, as soon as you fly private, you don't want to go back to the airlines.
Kicking and screaming,
So I think, I look ahead, I think that our industry is doing really, really well. We met with Embraer, the Phenom, to order a new one. You're into 2026, so there's still a waiting list on most of these new aircrafts, which keep the used aircraft prices up. And so there's no better way to fly.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here today. Where's a good place for people to find out more information?
SkyShare.com.
Very easy. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank you.
Tom.